the beautiful Suvi. Hi, Suvi.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited.
Yay. Just to begin,
Mm-hmm.
we'd like if you could explain just a little bit about yourself and the work that you do.
Do you want to hear my life story, or do you want to hear my work?
You can say whatever you need to
Whatever
say.
I need to say. So I am 40, originally from Finland, and I left. So I was a social worker and a counselor there in a crisis center for kids and their families up to my 30s. Did some traveling when I was younger, and then I was led to Hawaii to study holistic and clinical bodywork at a junction of my life where, so I suffered from eating disorders since I was 15 up to my mid 30s, beginning of my 30s. So that was kind of a junction where I felt that I either need to go from where I was living and do something else with my life, or I would just end it all. So that was kind of my big moment of where everything shifted for me. So I went to Hawaii to study bodywork and wellness, so clinical and holistic bodywork. And then I ended up in Sydney 5 years ago now. So I was 35. I came with my ex-partner, who I feel like was led into my life to bring me here because I was meant to be here. And then I got my residency a bit over a year ago, which was the time that I was able to step officially back into coaching work. So it's been kind of morphing through the past years, and there's been a massive shift, say, within the last year for me. So my coaching, what I do currently, it's called deep transformation coaching, which is often the people who come to me are, I don't know how to say this. I don't work with people as a life coach per se. So there's people who need that, who are in that kind of phase in their life where they need someone to show them how to be more efficient and how to, make more money, or how to be more goal oriented, or kind of the surface level structures they need to shift. But the people who come to me are often in a place where everything is great in their life. They're making a lot of money, they have their family, they have their career, and from outward in, everything looks like it's great. But something just feels off, and they feel like something is missing, and it's not like, is this the life that I'm meant to live? And they start to question things. And that's often when people step into my life. So we go more deeper into stripping the layers off that make them feel lost from themselves. So I'm helping people to return back to their authentic self. So that's kind of with the deep coaching, what I do. And that aligns with, so I do psychedelic integration coaching, which is the latest edition that I've kind of kicking and screaming. I was pulled into that work. So it wasn't in my plan, let's say a year, maybe a bit less than a year ago. I was pulled into that path. And I didn't know where it would lead. And so what I do with people, it goes together with the deep coaching, because often people who do psychedelic medicines are at the point of their life where they feel the same call to look deeper and figure out what is going on and what is my purpose here. And they want to do really deep healing for themselves. So I help people before they do their psychedelic experience, just to set it up in a correct way. And do it in a safe way with the right intentions, and kind of understand what they're stepping into and to get most out of their experience. And then afterwards help them, because a lot of people don't understand this, that when it comes to psychedelic medicine, the medicine is not the thing that heals you. It's the thing that it's like your guide. It shows you parts of yourself that are ready to be healed. But the work starts after that. So that's where I step in with integration. So we go through their experience, but also to integrate that mystical, amazing experience into their everyday life. So they don't feel the need to go and use medicines all the time. Like they're able to have that connection with the divine, or with their true self, or whatever it was that was revealed for them in that space, into their everyday life without having to use medicines all the time and go and use them as a crutch for them. And the reason why I'm doing that work is not to advocate. I understand that psychedelic medicines are illegal in most countries, and even though they're trying to legalize some of them, But for me, it's more understanding the fact that people do these medicines regardless whether they're legal or they're illegal. And I want people to have the knowledge to do them in a safe way and to get best out of their experience. So I feel like there's a massive need for that kind of work, because psychedelic medicine, it's like there's the renaissance that is happening right now, and it's exploding in people's faces, and so many people are doing these things. So I just want people to be safe and do it what I see to be the right way, and to get most out of the medicines. So that was a long story, but that's kind of where I'm at with life right now.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Also, where can we find, what is your website called, just for our viewers to be able to find you, and on Facebook?
So my company name is Hunaworks. So my website is hunaworks.com, and then my Instagram is also Hunaworks. And I have a Facebook page, but that's kind of, that's in a phase of I'm morphing it into what it needs to be for the future. And also my website is kind of being restructured a little bit, but there's a lot of information. The basics are already there, but mainly to get in touch with me, Instagram is the place where I spend most of my time work-wise. But they're all Hunaworks, which is another story where the name came from, but that's the name.
Awesome. So where does the name come from?
Yeah.
So that was another, I feel like I've been guided into a lot of the things that I've done that happen in my life. And I think most of us are, but we're just not maybe aware of it. But I had the name, and I have it tattooed in my arm.
Oh, cool.
There's Huna. So when I went to Hawaii, and I have some kind of history with the country, with Maui, I think, from past. So I felt really lost in my life before I went. Like I told you, I was 30, and I just felt like I just need to, something has to change. I don't feel like Finland is my country. Yeah. So I landed in Hawaii, and I started crying because I felt for the first time in my life that I'm at home. And then I felt called. So Huna this is another long story, but Huna it's a Hawaiian philosophy for life, basically. That's how I would call it. And it has some aspect, or you guys know The Secret, right? So that's kind of, there's some aspects of that in Huna, but I think Huna was before all of that came. And then it also includes, I'm not sure if you've heard of Ho'oponopono.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So Ho'oponopono is part of the philosophy of Huna and one of the practices within Huna. Yeah. So I've always been really called to, and we can maybe put links up to, so people can have a bit of a look on what it means. But that's where the name came from. And I use it in my body work and in my work in general and in my life. And I just felt like it's a perfect name for the company. And now it's just kind of making more sense as I'm going further.
It blossoms as it transforms.
Sorry?
It blossoms as it transforms.
Yeah, like exactly. Like when I took the tattoo, I'm like, there's something about this. I don't know what it is. And I'm really specific with tattoos that I take. I want them to be something that will be part of me for the rest of my life. And I didn't know much of the philosophy at the time, but I just felt like I should have it. So I've had it for 10 years and now I understand why. So
crazy.
That's such a beautiful thing, like when you do something such a long time ago, 10 years ago, and then I realize why, and all something together.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the same is with a lot of things that have happened into my life, and within the last 6 months, I've always had this innate trust in what happens is meant to happen. So I haven't really questioned, even if it's been really, really hard. And I knew somehow it will link together, and I never truly understood how until now. So all of those big, horrific, you would call suffering in life, and it's all led me here to be able to do the work that I do today. Which is quite beautiful, I think.
I definitely agree with that. Everything happens for a reason.
We were actually having this conversation before you jumped on, Suvi. Ashley and I just went and had a healing this morning, and the healer was saying to me that, you were put in that family for a reason. You were supposed to come to this point right now to do the work. And I just had so many realizations that I'm like, I had these really, really tough experiences, like what you said, the suffering, to allow myself that deep awareness to move through life from my heart. So coming back,
I feel like we pick our parents, we write our story for this life before we come here, and then we have to forget, and we spend our entire life remembering. And that's what it is that you're coming back to. You know, when you have these moments that something just feels like, there's something in this, I don't know what it is, but there's something, and that's the inner remembering that we have.
yes,
Because we're so in our head and so in this space, and not here, that we kind of lose that aspect of guidance that we all have for life.
our intuition.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that I feel like you were saying about your parents, that what I try to, but some people are not there and they might never be there to understand it. But I think it gives so much peace to our life when we understand that everything that happens in our life is our responsibility. And that's part of Ho'oponopono as well. That every single situation we have in our life is something we created.
Yeah.
There's no blame, regardless if somebody, you know, you're in an abusive relationship, something is happening in your life. It's not right what the person is doing, but for some reason, this is what I called into my life.
I love the saying, you are the creator and the creation.
Exactly.
All experiencing at the same time. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, it was funny. So I get really nervous and I hate to be the center of attention. That's been my I understand from like now some things have come to surface where that is coming from, that it's not really, I've been reinforcing it throughout lifetimes, but it's something that happened before with this whole shamanism thing, that I used to be one, and there was a lot of judgment, and it's hard for me to be and speak my truth because that's kind of resurfacing and being triggered. So it was funny. I took a card. So I've been doing interviews and I have my podcast, and I love talking to people when it's about them.
Yeah.
But when it's about me, and people often don't believe this because I'm really chatty when I'm one-on-one with someone, and I'm really open with my things.
Yeah.
But like this is like my worst nightmare. So I pulled a card just before, and I said, "What is the purpose for this interview?" And this is the purpose. So thank you for having me on.
That's beautiful. I actually have something quite similar. Like this morning, we're talking about my throat and how at times it's hard for me to express myself, like my true self. And I, before we jumped on, I had the flower essence, express yourself. So just where I am right now, I think we're all resonating on that level of just like really speaking our truth right now. So this is, I guess, is the theme.
And I think it's the time for, like, it's the time, right? Yeah. Like a lot of us, when I say us, I mean any kind of starseed or light worker who is here. It's like we've been preparing for this moment to step up and speak our truth, because the world and the collective, you know, it needs our voice. It needs the vibration of our being and our voice to lift us all higher. So it's like when I get into this moment, like almost canceled the interview because I was like, oh, I don't know, do I want to do this? And I don't know. And I feel like this is personally for me, I don't know if this resonates with you, but it's what's happening right now and our mission and what we are being, like sometimes I feel like something else is taking over my body and it's not in my control. It's like this wave is taking over you and it's bigger than you. Like get over yourself. Yeah. You know, like what we're meant to do here is bigger than me. This ego Suvi who is sitting here. Yeah.
Definitely. No, I 100% agree with you. Sometimes when I'm having conversations with James of a nighttime, there's something that is speaking.
I love your husband, by the way.
He's a beautiful, beautiful human. I just feel that there is something that is speaking through me. It's like, I'm like, where did that come from? Do you know what I mean? And the conversations that we're having are just really deepening, and I'm understanding the intimate connection on such a whole level.
So for me, kind of, if I continue what you were saying, and I totally agree with you, and the biggest thing that has happened and what led me to plant medicine So I've always been, my whole life, I've been kind of in between worlds, but I've been really intellectual. So I've been a lot in my head, and I might get visitations from, from spirit or dead people while I'm treating clients. They've lost someone and they're popping through, and I'm like, what is this? And am I making this up? And I kept questioning all these things that I kept feeling, and my heart knew that this is true and this is real, but I kept talking myself out of it.
Yeah.
And then when I had this experience for the first time with plant medicine, which was someone like me who never done weed, I've never done anything. I mean, I drank my fair share when I was young. That's what Finnish people do. But I've always had this resistance because of how I was brought up, and because I always wanted to be in control and was a massive perfectionist. And having something that is going to mess with my mind was just like, it's too much. It's too scary. And alcohol, I kind of can control, which didn't always go that way either. But it was so scary for me. And then for some reason I was called to do this work. And I feel like, one, for me to do the work that I do now and where it's leading me, but also when I was in that space. So I work with psilocybin personally, and that's kind of the medicine that I've been called to. And I kept seeing mushrooms everywhere, and it's like, okay, I feel like maybe this is something I should do. But I was taking through these lifetimes from from the ocean, and different lifetimes that I knew that I'm somehow linked to the ocean and somehow linked to Sirius B, which I feel like I'm originated from. But I had all these guides and everything was confirmed. I saw everything that I knew to be true. And when I saw that, then I was able to drop into my heart and go with trust.
Yeah.
I didn't have to question it anymore. And then everything started opening up, and there was no fear or resistance to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I feel trusting yourself is what we're here to do, or trusting in that there is something greater, trusting in that there's something, that's the source of the universe, and I totally resonate with that. Actually, one of my friends, he's been on a similar journey to you right now, looking at integration work with psychedelics and stuff, and so he's been bringing a lot of knowledge to me about it lately. And I have microdosed before, and I felt how much that impacted, because I did it for hormonal reasons, like just rebalancing and stuff, and I could see the impact that was having on my body. And so that was a while ago now, and I feel quite drawn to doing maybe like a higher dose to do a bit more deeper work. But anyway, getting off track, I feel maybe. A bit like resonating with that right now.
And another, I don't know how you guys see this, but when we were talking about, and when you were talking about your intuition, and the kind of the way I've been shown it and how I believe it to be. So when I said that we write our own journey for whatever lessons our soul needs to learn in this reincarnation, and then we have to forget. So there's no good or bad, or there's nothing like that. But when you hear that little whisper, it's like your angels or your guides, whoever you want to call it, or your higher self is like, oh no, go there. And then because we're so in our mind and we stop listening, you step away from that path, and then they ask your, not the darkness, but the dark forces to make something happen. It's like, I tried to talk to her. I tried to be really gentle and nice and say, go that way. So you stay on your path. And that path has bad and it has good, it has suffering. Part of our life is suffering for us to learn and grow. But when you don't listen to your intuition, something has to happen to bring you back to your path.
Yeah.
And that's when, we go out of our path when our ego and our mind try to talk us away from what's actually happening in here and what we're hearing. And then something brings us back to our path. And I feel like that was part of my ex-partner. I got kind of sidetracked, and I knew I was meant to be here. And then it's the most random way we met. He saw me in a bus, and then I didn't even see him, and he just thought, I need to talk to her if she gets off on the same bus stop. And I was supposed to be, so I was in Malta before I came here. I was there for 3 years, and I was supposed to be there for 6 months, and then come to Australia. And I couldn't get myself here, and I already gave up, and I'm like, maybe it's just not going to happen. And I was just in this weird funk. And then he just showed up in my life, and then turns out he wanted to come here as well. And he was the pushing force that got me here. And then after we got here, and then I broke up with him, and that was his part in my journey.
Yeah, he played a role in your, like we all.
Like somebody put him in my path and said, okay, no, you have to get to Australia. There's a purpose for you to go there. So we're going to put this man in your life to take you there, because you are not getting there by yourself, obviously.
Yeah.
I can agree with that as well, because like I feel like sometimes you listen to your intuition, but then when you go off track, it's like somebody's shaking you and giving you all these signs, and all these things happen to you, and you're like, why am I not listening? And then you realize, and then you go back and you're like, I was literally being shaken, being like, come on, I'm trying to help you here.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then finally you listen, and then you go back on the right track again.
Exactly.
And things come and go in your life, and the same thing, you know, with, I feel like, friends, relationships, people, like objects, even like sometimes objects come into your life.
Oh my God, yes.
They have a purpose, but then, or like, then you just need to get rid of it because it's not relevant to your
exactly.
So I've been going through this whole process myself, just going like, I've always like tried to hold on to like everything, like an object in my life, and I've just been, the last 6 months I've just been throwing things away, and I'm like, oh, something's happening here. It's like a big shift. All of a sudden I just have no, like, I have no attachment to that object anymore, or that thing, or that friend, or that person, and I don't feel guilty or anything about it. Like, normally, like, I would feel like my mind would take over, my ego would take over and try and convince myself no, but yeah, you just have to listen to your intuition and your heart, and I feel like they just can just do such amazing things. Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, it's easier to take on suffering and what we're meant to do here when you just have that trust that, okay, it sucks right now, but it's okay, you know, like, it's leading me to something else. And another thing, like, I feel like a lot of the suffering that people have is resistance to what is. Yes, like, we see it with COVID or anything, right? And then also how our society is using our need to how our society, just to keep it running and make more money, is using us, right? Like, imagine a child in Africa and they never had shoes and they're happy and they're jumping around and being joyful, and then someone shows them shoes and said, you should have shoes, and all of a sudden they suffer. Or, you know, for us, we're living our life, and aging is part of our normal biological evolution, right? And then all of a sudden someone says to you, wrinkles are bad, you shouldn't have wrinkles. And it's a natural evolution of our life. And then all of a sudden we suffer and we want to buy this cream because now all of a sudden this is causing me suffering. Natural order of things is causing me suffering because someone told me so.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Like, I wish that people were more kind of aware of the dynamics where we live.
A bit of the mind programming that is collectively affecting us.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like a lot is like hereditary. Like, a lot of the things that you think that you have to do is because your family did it, or because somebody told you once that you had to do it. So you just make, I guess, your mind just controls the way that you think and the way that you do something. And you know, a lot of people won't question that, but like, you know, there's, you know, people like us that sort of want to go deep and really figure out who we are and what our purpose is. So we just embrace that instead of resisting and holding back.
And that's, I always say, this is like a comparison, or not a comparison, what's the word? Like, that explains a lot on how my work works. It's like you're talking with a 5-year-old. I'm the annoying person who keeps asking, but why? When people are like, they're settled in that space, and it's like, this is my reason for doing this. I'm unhappy, but this is my reason. And then I keep digging. And obviously we can't force that process. If a person is not ready to look, they're not going to do that, right? But I feel like, in general, life would be way happier to people if they were willing to look at their pain and look at why I'm doing this and taking ownership of it. And like you said, it can go up to, you know, your family has kind of taught you how to be and how to behave in the society that you live in, but it can also go further down lifetime. So even if you dig deeper, you won't always get to the core belief that is driving all these weird behaviors that you have that is keeping you unhappy.
Yeah.
That it can be something way further, but as long as you get to understanding to the fact that, okay, I'm doing this because of this, and not just accepting it as is, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I had a point here. I'm not sure.
No, it does.
I love it.
In my mind, it made sense. But I,
Yeah, no, I can completely relate to that. And it is exactly how you've explained it.
Yeah. I wanted to know, Suvi, what led you to your purpose work and to your healing journey? Like, what was I know you said the pivotal point was when you were 30. Is there something earlier than that, or was that the point?
No, since I was you mean just for healing work? Okay, so healing work, only thing I knew since I was little was that I want to do something to help people. That was all. So I looked into a lot of different things, what I could do. And I did my first, I think I was 18. I did my Reiki 1 and 2, which I don't really call my work, or when I work with energy, Reiki, because I feel like Reiki is really, the energy that Reiki taps into is quite polluted. So you want to go higher up where it's more clear, the energy that comes through. But so I did that when I was 18, and then I did that again when I was 30 before I went to Hawaii. And I've always been like, I feel like we cannot, whether it's coaching, whether it's healing, you need to, as a doctor, you don't have to have had, heart attack or all these things happen to you for you to be able to help people. But especially in the work that I do now, you have to have gone through certain things. I can't help someone with their awakening and their transformation in that depth unless I've been there myself.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I feel like my whole life I've been really interested in personal development and healing, and it started for my own self because I was so unhappy. Like I was just unhappy, and I just wanted to understand why, and I wanted to know what can I do. And then I started seeing that unhappiness around myself, and I'm just thinking, I remembered how it felt, and I just wanted to take that away from another person, which now I'm understanding that I can't. Right? Like I say, even with my work, I need to be able to, and that's part of the reason why I had to go through my own transformation and my own healing, because for me, what I do now is I'm sitting with people who might have a lot of pain, and I'm a really empathetic person. So if I haven't healed my own pain, I'm going to get too triggered, and I cannot be the safe space for them, be really grounded and hold that space and that container for them, because I'm going to get too triggered myself. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and you're getting like sucked into that energy.
I get sucked, exactly. So I feel like the reason why I've been like this my whole life and wanting to heal myself and understand is for me to be able to be here and sit for people who are going through this. And it's funny, people that come to me, usually they're part of that journey, but they're never above where I am. The people who find me are people who are a little bit less, so I know how to hold that space for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's been my whole life. It's been wanting to understand. I've been really curious, and I'm still like, I don't think I've ever stopped learning and trying to figure out why people are the way they are. I think people are fascinating. So I don't know, did that answer your question or no?
Yeah, definitely.
But there's been big moments like that, like when I was 30, or what's happening now, that kind of push me to a different, like higher and higher and higher and further. But often the pushing force is some kind of suffering or discomfort. And I feel like I'm coming out of that I don't know if you call it dark night of the soul or hero's journey, whatever it is, but I'm coming out of it now when I'm 40. So to my purpose, when people say, I want to find my purpose, you don't find your purpose finds you.
Yes.
When you're ready, you will understand and you will get what it is. And I still don't know if I know exactly what my purpose is. I know that I'm on that path now, finally. And all these puzzle pieces are like, and it's creating a picture that I can finally see why all those had to happen and why I'm here. But there's still a few things that I'm not sure where. Like I said, I've been pulled kicking and screaming into the shamanic work, which I didn't know. I just I'm remembering these things and I don't know how to do them. And maybe I'm going to be 60 when I'm going to be doing that work. I don't know. So it's a constant evolution, right?
Amazing. Yeah, it's really good. And we wanted to ask you, Suvi, if you could share with us a transformative experience that you've gone through personally, that really changed your perspective on life.
Do you mean with psychedelic medicine? Or
just in general, in any experience.
I think I've had quite a few, but the biggest ones definitely have been with psychedelic medicine, where I've been like, so maybe one big transformative experience I can share, which happened, this was maybe a month ago. And like, I still don't know exactly what happened. And I remember I was doing my, and this is after my like psychedelic experiences. And I'm sitting on my sofa and I'm doing my meditation. And all of a sudden my whole body starts to shake and I couldn't control it. And then my heart space got really hot and it just started to go through my body. And then I got really tingly and I didn't feel my body anymore. And I was taken away from my body, and that's never happened to me unless I'm sleeping or in psychedelic medicine.
Yeah.
And then I was brought back to myself, and that was maybe an hour, and then I was like shaking and I didn't know what to do with myself. I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind, what is happening? And then I thought, okay, I'm going to do another meditation, and I was laying down just to calm myself, and I left again, not that abruptly. And I was taking this library, and I'm there, and I didn't realize where I was. And then I was looking at a book, and it says My Soul's Code. And I was leafing through, and I saw a name, and I kept hearing it, Kara Shakti, in my head, and I've been saying it over and over and over. And it's like I got my name, and I came back, and I went to my bathroom, and I remember it's like I was looking at myself outside of myself. And my higher self is really cheeky. Like, she's really cheeky and a bit sarcastic. And I was looking at myself and talking to myself, this ego, human version of me, outside of myself. And that was massive for me. It's like I was introduced back to myself. And then that's kind of where I was led into this shamanic work. And that's been like, it's like it opened up something for me. And then maybe another transformative experience that I've had was when I was in Amsterdam. It's a place called Synthesis, which is a legal place to do psychedelic medicine. And I've always been, so I went there with the intention to break my heart open. I've always been really touchy-feely and really loving and compassionate person, and I've been helping other people, but I feel like I've never been in love in my life. With the partners, I've had amazing, beautiful humans in my life, but I've never been in love, I don't think. And for me, that was a bizarre concept, because I feel like I have a big heart, and I'm like, why don't I feel it? And I was there, and I had a massive, my whole body started cramping again. And then I started crying, and I kept saying I was forgiving my mom and my dad and my brother. And I just said, I forgive you, I forgive you. And I was crying, and the shaman came to help me. And then I calmed down, and all of a sudden, I started crying, but for a different reason. And my guides were saying to me, we broke your heart open so you can feel love. And I was so overwhelmed. They said, we're allowing you to feel everything and all the love that you've given to other people. And it was so overwhelming. And another woman was, afterwards we talked, and she said, I was watching you when she was going through a really hard moment in her own journey. And she said, it's like your face was gold and your whole body was glowing. And I've never felt that before. And that's shifted. Oh.
I've got goosebumps like all over my arms right now.
So that was huge for me. And then another one, so just for people to get an understanding of, like, for your own behavior and things that have happened in your life. and the way you behave. And we were talking before how it can come from past lives, and it can be, you know, you can get it through your mother, your grandmother, your, you know, your ancestral line. And with me, with eating disorders, and I always felt like something happened to me when I was little. Like there's been a lot of shame around sexuality and about my body, and I just felt like something's happened to me when I was little, and I couldn't remember. And a lot of healers that I've seen in my life, and they always bring up that there was some kind of traumatic event that happened when you were small, and I just can't remember. Obviously I've been reinforcing those things throughout my life that caused the eating disorder and things to come, but I knew there was something. And then after this huge experience at Synthesis, and later on, I felt a father energy for me in the space. And again, I started crying, and I kept saying, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. And I thought it was my father, because he's been sick since I was 15, and I thought maybe he's about to pass or something's happening, that he came through to say goodbye to me. And then later on, I found out that to someone else in my lineage, which I'd never known, was sexually abused. And I just felt this full body confirmation, and she never dealt with it in her life. She wanted to forget it. And I felt this full body confirmation that I've released that for her, and I've been carrying that in my DNA, in my cellular, you know, on cellular level within myself. And it's like something lifted when that happened in that journey. And so at the end of the journey, when the shaman, the other woman that was there, and she was writing things down that she felt, and she came to me and she showed me this text, and it said, and she said, oh, there was a father energy for you. And I said, I know, it was my dad, I think. And she said, he came with a message, and it said, your father raped you as a child. And I'm sitting there, I'm in my mind, in my human mind, right? I wanted to intellectualize. I'm like, oh my God, it was my dad. This is horrible. Oh my, what am I going to do with this? But I just felt this peace. And I got home, and then I had this conversation with someone. And then I found out that it wasn't my dad. It was something that I've been carrying for someone else. Yeah. And they came through for me when I was in that journey, because I was open to it. And they needed that relief for their soul for me to forgive them. So that was another huge, so there's been a lot of things that have been happening for me lately.
Wow.
But people to also understand for themselves, like there was, don't quote me on this, but there was a study, I think it was done with rats, where the rat was like given so they saw a cherry blossom, and then they made a sound that was done in a university in the US, I think. But there was a sound made when they saw the cherry blossom. And then they got scared, obviously. So they started to identify the cherry blossoms with something scary. And not just one, but two, even at least two generations. Again, don't quote me on this, but you can look this up. It's you can find it. That the babies of those rats were scared of just seeing a cherry blossom.
Wow.
Even though they've never seen one. So how we can carry these things if your mom or your grandmother or whoever it was hasn't released that from their energy body and their cellular level, you can carry, it comes through birth, you're taking all of that on. So don't always think, what have I done wrong, or what, no, not you done wrong, but what has happened in my life, because you might not always know, because it might not be from your life. It can be something like way further.
Yeah, I can resonate with that.
Yeah,
I think that all of these experiences that happened, it was like it was preparing me to be able to let that go. And I knew there was some kind of block in my heart.
Yeah,
I think that was a huge chunk that just went.
I wanted to ask you, are there any inspirational people that you have crossed paths with, like that have impacted your life along the journey?
So
a little handful, or just
no. So for me, it can be an individual conversation I have with a random person I meet on the street, or it can be, Oprah. It can be Deepak Chopra. It can't, like, there's so many. I don't really. So for me, it's more how I feel when I'm having a conversation with someone. It can be a tiny seed that, like I said, a random person says to me that just opens something up.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
So yes, so many. Like, I'm inspired by you both, like the work that you do, and you know what your mission is with all of this. Like, I'm inspired by you, right?
Well, like with conversations that we had, like, you know, Candace and I met each other from a mutual friend, and we didn't really talk a lot like during that time, but we just kept sort of crossing paths and seeing each other in random places and having just full conversations, like proper conversations about life. And
it's funny though, how the universe, because we had this interaction at the shopping center and we didn't know each other very well, but I got told to go to a bathroom to, like, I don't know what I was doing actually. And then Ashley got told to go to that same bathroom, and then we crossed paths at that time.
There you go.
I was like, yeah. And it was like, okay, no, this isn't, and it didn't happen just once. It happened a lot of different times where we would meet up at the same place, and we're like, okay, yeah, you know, we're meant to do something together, you know, and then so this is how this has created, which is
spiritual happenstance.
Yeah, so we were both sort of like in similar places, I guess. We were both moms, and you know, we were kind of you know, wanting to help people, and yeah, so we just sort of had some really deep conversations together, and then one day we went out to dinner without the kids, so that was great. And we actually properly talked and was like,
without
something. And then when the lockdown happened, it was a big push as well, and it was so instant. We were like, no, we've got to do this right now. How are we going to do it? So we just sat down one day, we just like, you know, did this sort of interview kind of thing on Zoom and just spoke about it, and then we just made it happen. Like, it just sort of all flowed really easily.
And
when the time is right, all you need to do is allow.
Yes. Yeah. And we can't believe how quickly we've manifested this and how quickly it's come together. And I'm learning so much through and that's what you're talking about, inspiring people. Mm-hmm. Everyone that we are speaking to is just so inspiring. And I can even notice the shifts within me after the conversations with the people that we're interviewing. It's just unbelievable.
And often, you know, that's the thing, that even when I'm working with clients, that we are learning from each other. You know, everybody's our teacher. Like the clients who come to me, usually it's something that has been really powerful for me, or maybe something has been re-triggered, or I'm going through a certain period in my life, and that person came to teach me something that I needed to know to unlock a new layer of myself. Right.
And like as well, like, you know, I mean, the amount of people that we've spoken to, like a lot of them were people that, you know, knew other people that wanted to be involved in this, and like just to share knowledge, not only for people like when they're at home all the time because of lockdown, but just afterwards, and obviously to carry that on and continue helping people, just inspiring people to learn and absorb information easily. It's nice.
So Suvi, I know the work that you do, is it mainly around like self-love and you said perfectionism? Is that something that you
so it's kind of so my work it's morphing all the time, I feel. But it started with, so I have a podcast called The Elephant in the Room, which that was the conversation I had with your partner, James, to have him on the podcast with his story, which is extremely inspiring, and the work that he does now. So it started because I struggled with perfectionism for such a long time. And I feel like the core where perfectionism stems from is lack of self-love and self-worth, because we need everything to be perfect so people will validate our worth. Right? And it's this prison that you live in, and you're chasing an illusion that doesn't really exist. And that took so much out of my life. And I I had clients who were coming in with body work, or when I was doing social work, and I could see, inside the glass houses, these places where I used to look at these people or think, oh my God, like that's what I want to be. And it looks so perfect. And then I was given a glimpse inside. I had clients who might be in social media and everybody knows them, and on social media, their life looks incredibly perfect. And they come to me and they cry for half an hour because their life is so shit. And I was thinking, I wish people would see this. I wish people would understand that we all suffer, we all go through things. And I wish people could see the true person in this and feel that, okay, it's okay for me to be who I am and show up with my flaws and cracks and everything, because this person I look up to has their cracks too. And so I wanted to, so again, it was about my own experience, and I wanted other people to suffer less because I didn't want them to go through what I went through. So that was the core for my work, and that's why self-love was a big part of it. But now that I've been morphing and I've been going through my own awakening, and that's why it's gone more into, like, I don't want to make a person more ego-led person, like make them more efficient as an ego. I want to look underneath it. So perfectionism is still, I feel like perfectionism is part of us being detached from our true self. It's just the manifestation of that. So yes, I still work with that, but it's kind of gone a little bit deeper with it all. I think that would be, maybe that would be the best way to say it.
I feel as well like expectations, like the expectations that you have for yourself or for other people. There's so much pressure that your expectation is supposed to be all the way up here, when really, like, is it realistic, and is it true, and how is it? It's not possible to be perfect.
And who said that this is how we should be?
Exactly.
Like, this is but just like a more absurd version of how we accept something as truth. Like, I feel like a belief, like how our truths are formed, is that somebody once said something once. People kept repeating it, and then we kept hearing it over and over, and from a belief it becomes our truth, it becomes a fact. But we never kind of go down and see, okay, where did this come from? So with COVID, with this whole toilet paper thing, I thought it was a joke. I honestly thought it was a joke, like somebody just made this funny video. And this guy was filming, a YouTuber guy was filming people in a shop in Sydney, and these people who were buying toilet paper, and he was asking them, sorry, can I ask you, why are you buying so much toilet paper? And I'm not lying, majority of the people he interviewed said, I don't know, I think it somehow stops the virus. So they took the toilet paper and ran. And I'm just thinking, what is happening with people? Why don't you think for yourself? Like, how? Okay, stop and think. This belief that I have that this stops, what happened in between? Like, does it really? But that's like a magnified version of how people live their lives, right? Like, they just take it and run with it, right? Without thinking, how does that apply to me? How does this feel for me?
I feel like the mind programs and the people getting stuck in their minds, and we should be always in our mind. And I feel that it's truly not where we need to be. It can be used as a tool. Yes, I need to go and unlock my car. You're using your mind to think about those types of things, but don't let it guide you. Don't let it be the leader. Like, it's just crazy. So crazy.
And the overthinking as well. Like, the mind can be so powerful with that.
Oh my God, mine was a minefield.
Yeah, and then round in circles. Like, why am I thinking about this over? You got to cut it. That's it. Send it away.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's easier said than done, but that's the goal, right?
Yeah, I know. I've been battling with that one myself. Like, I've gotten a lot better, but yeah, just that chatter talk, and you don't realize that it takes so much energy out of you by going around in circles all the time. So yeah, sometimes you just have to stop and think, like, question it and think, why is this happening?
Have a conversation with your mind.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Or with your ego. Maybe that's more what's happening.
Yeah,
It's having a conversation. Like, why is this happening? What is this trying to show me? What is the layer I need to look at? What is trying to come up for me with this, you know, what my mind is trying to do, or what am I being distracted from? Really?
And what I notice when I get caught, I try not to like put myself down about it either. Just
allow it to be what it is.
Yeah, I'm like, it's okay to be human. It's okay. It's okay. These things are going to happen. And then recenter, you know, just telling myself that, because sometimes you get so caught and attached to these things that are happening up in here. So
well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for having conversations. That's what we want, just conversation, healthy, natural.
Yeah.
That's it. But thank you everyone for watching Secrets of the Soul. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. Thank you.
Support these girls, they're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time out to speak to us, Suvi.
Pleasure. Thank you for helping me step into my truth.
That's okay. Thank you.